Hey guys, Momo here. So, I was on the PokeNation server and I came across a problem that one of the other players had, and this was EV training. So I've made a post on the forums kind of briefly overlaying how EV training works. But some people don't really understand it all that well just because they're reading it and maybe it doesn't register properly. So I figured I'd make a video and try to help physically explain it. So this is how it is. So EV training. EV stands for effort value in Pokemon. EVs are a method of enhancing training, making your Pokemon stats better. For instance, if I wanted my Pokemon to be better trained in the speed stat, I would have to train it on Pokemon that give speed EVs. For instance, a Magikarp. This may seem complicated, but it is actually quite easier than it seems. So things you need to know. In order to perfectly EV train your Pokemon, you must start EV training when the Pokemon has no previous experience or experience gained. This means start with an untrained Pokemon. That way you know it has 0 EVs to start with. Now, a Pokemon can gain a max of 510 EVs. A Pokemon gains +1 in a stat, like attack or speed, for every 4 EVs it gains in that stat. So, if I kill 4 Magikarps, I will get +1 in my Pokemon speed stat. That would mean that 1 Magikarp gives 1 speed EV, and to check these EVs which Pokemon give, you would need to first go on the internet and search up an EV chart. You could find such things on Cerebi.net, where you could search a specific stat and EV. So for instance, I'd go on Cerebi.net and I'd search speed EVs, and it would give a list of Pokemon that give speed EVs. So, like I said, a Pokemon gains +1 in the stat for every 4 EVs it gains in that stat. Thus, you can max 2 stats with 252 EVs, and 1 stat can have 6 EVs. So 252 plus 252 plus 6 equals 510 EVs. Now, what we can see here is that all of our EVs are being used to maximum potential. If we have 252 EVs in one stat, 252 EVs in another, and we have 4 in a third, all of these combined together, which is 508, are all multiples of 4. That way, we are maximizing the amount of EVs a Pokemon can gain with an extra of 2 EVs, which it doesn't really matter where they go. Now, track your EVs. What I do is I use a tally chart. So if I'm training and I kill 1 Magikarp with my Pokemon, I take a piece of paper and a pencil and I write down 1 tick. If I kill another tick. So I go on like that, making a tally chart, and I tally it up quite frequently to make sure that I don't overgo 252 EVs if I want to maximize the potential in one stat. Now, we need to try to coordinate training EVs to match your Pokemon's nature. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the Pokemon I have is timid, I should probably EV train it in speed, because timid is a nature that promotes speed gain. So this will mean that the base stat of the Pokemon, as well as bonus stats, will be given in speed. Now, if we look further into EVs, once a Pokemon has maxed its EVs, which is 510, you can train the Pokemon on whatever Pokemon you want. If you go randomly killing Pokemon, you will find that your EVs will be mixed up and all over the place. That is because each Pokemon gives out a certain type of EV, whether that be attack or speed, and a certain amount of EVs, whether that be 1, 2, or 3. So again, like I said, visit Cerebi.net for a list of Pokemon that give out certain EVs. An example would be to search Pokemon Speed EVs in your web browser, click the Cerebi link, and view which Pokemon give Speed EVs and how many they give. Now, we move on to special bonuses. Power items are EV enhancing items which cut your Pokemon speed in half while holding, but add +4 EVs to the amount you receive from defeating a certain Pokemon. An example, if my Pokemon equips a Power Anklet, which promotes speed gain in EV training, and I defeat a Magikarp, which gives 1 speed EV, my Pokemon will gain 5 speed EVs. We have 1 EV that the Magikarp gives, plus the 4 EVs from the Power Anklet, which gives me 5. If you would like a full and clear definition of power items, just search it up on the internet. Or I'm sure you can find a forum thread on our forums which does show which items promote which stat. Now moving on to Macho Braces. Macho Braces are EV enhancing items which cut your Pokemon speed in half while holding, again, but double the amount of EVs earned from defeating a Pokemon. An example, if my Pokemon holds a Macho Brace and defeats a Kadabra, it will receive 4 special attack EVs. 2 EVs from the Kadabra times 2 is 4 EVs. Now, reminders. Not all Pokemon will give only 1 EV. Some give 2 EVs or even 3 EVs. Although it may look like a first evolution will give you 1 EV in a stat, that doesn't mean that the second evolution of that Pokemon will give you 2 EVs in the same stat. An example, Slowpokes give 1 EV in HP, while a Slowbro gives 1 EV in defense. There are some special Pokemon that will give multiple EVs. For instance, a Muck will give you attack and HP EVs. If you use Cerebi.net to see what Pokemon give what EVs and how many, the special Pokemon like Muck and Parasect will have a star next to the amount of EVs given. If further help is needed, please consult the internet. I'm not the only one who has tried to describe this to someone. It may seem like a hard concept to grasp when you are listening to this or when you're reading a post about it. However, when you try it for yourself, you will most likely mess up. But you will learn, you will understand, and eventually you will be able to EV train. It may seem complicated at first, but it gets easier. Thank you for watching, listening. I hope you guys figure out how to EV train, and good luck. Alright guys, later. Alright guys, I'm going to provide you with an example. So, right now, I have a Geodude with me, and although I may not be coordinating what I'm training it in to its nature, you can see that this is freshly caught, it has no experience to it, so if I EV train it, I'll be able to track it and know exactly how many EVs it has. So, what I'm going to do is, just for practical reasons, I'm going to train it in speed, because I've given many examples of speed. So we look into this water and we see Magikarp and a wild True Gamer DJ. Anyways, our Geodude has a Power Anklet equipped to it, which is this blue one right here, Power Anklet. Now, normally, if I attack this Magikarp with my Geodude, when it does not have a Power Anklet equipped, we will find that I will only gain plus 1 EVs. So remember, 4 EVs in one stat equal plus 1 in a stat gain. So this power anklet plus killing this Magikarp will give my Geodude 5 EVs in speed for killing this one Magikarp. So if I go ahead and I do that, which you can see that if this Magikarp knows tackle, I'm probably screwed. Anyways. Alright, good, it doesn't. So, I killed it. Now, if I go back to the summary, I can see its speed. Hang on. Now if I check this Geodude, because I'm an admin on the server, if I go to EVs, we can clearly see it has gained 10 speed EVs. Now, whoever's viewing this will obviously not be able to do this because they're not an admin and they don't have NBT edit. However, we can clearly see that what I have said has happened. It's gained 10 speed EVs. Now, aside from this Pixelmon glitch, it should now have 13 speed, 13 as its speed stat. So, if you've been following along, that would mean that you're understanding it, and you will get better at it. The easiest way to begin EV training is to track. For instance, if I want to EV train my Geodude in attack and speed, then I will train 252 in attack and make sure I track it, 252 in speed, make sure I track it, and then that last 6 in a third stat, so that I can use the extra 4 EVs to plus 1 to another stat. So if we can recall here, that extra 6 EVs, only 4 of them will actually bump a stat up 1. Those last 2 are just kind of useless. It doesn't really matter where you put them. But, so, easiest thing, 252, 252, and 6. It could get much more complex, but I'll leave that one up to the internet. So if you want to train something precisely by EV training, and it's not in the form of 252 in one stat, 252 in another stat, and 6 in a third, then make sure you follow the guidelines of some sort of internet source. Another example, Cerebi.net again. They will often give you EV training tips on certain Pokemon and which natures they should have. So I hope this helped anyone that's watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Later!